Well, the world knows him by the alternate byline of WWE Superstar Karrion Kross. But to his friends, to his family, and to those that knew him, even in the dank clubs of Toronto once upon a time, he was Kevin Kesar. How are you, sir?
Doing really good, man. How are you today?
Really great. Thanks so much for being here. We call our podcast feed Celebrate Wrestling because we always try and find the positive stuff. There's a bunch of stuff around you right now, obviously, that you've been documented of wanting to tell the fans, and I'm not going to ask about that because that's your business right now. However, from a personal standpoint, from a lot of fans' standpoint, we just want nothing but the best for you. So there, I brought that up. Let's move on.
Thank you so much.
Let's talk about this book here, first of all. I always have a love-hate relationship with wrestling books. My listeners have known through the years that I'm not a great reader. Like, for me to actually be engaged by a story, I really got to be hooked in for it. And what I loved about this is that it's not a story. It's probably, 40, 50 stories that you've kind of amalgamated into one book here?
I would definitely say so. Yeah, I wanted to basically kind of tell the story of my life and different silver linings that I've been able to find in some good situations and some bad situations, some unexpected situations, and I felt like that was the best way for me to go about telling my story. It's not exactly linear. I feel like I've lived a few different lives, so.
You certainly have, and I didn't realize you spent so many of your early years in the Toronto area specifically. I mean, here as a Canadian show, that's going to resonate with a lot of people. I enjoy how in your book you described a pizza as a pizza parlor. You made it sound very fancy schmancy.
My uncle, a few of my uncles actually worked in pizza parlors when I was growing up, and that's what they called them.
Yeah.
And they were very particular about it being called a pizza parlor. So I was like, okay, it's a pizza parlor.
And for those that don't know pizza, I mean, I would say a step above a Little Caesars, a step below Pizza Hut. But yeah.
Fair enough.
The book is called Life is Fighting, and honestly, it starts off with your first fight being a bare knuckle brawl. And I'm not going to spoil the whole book here. I'm not going to read your whole book back to you here. But this sets a tone to me of someone who is clearly not afraid to try anything once. Is that somehow you would describe yourself?
For sure, yeah. And that's kind of like been like a reoccurring theme in my life. Like I recently, just over the last 3 years, I started learning how to ride motorcycles. I started scuba diving. I got over my fear of heights. Um, I don't know what it is. It's just I don't like being afraid of things.
Mhm.
And when I feel like I am, I feel like I know that there's like something I'm gonna unlock if I can do that and get over it. And as far as the bare knuckle fighting that happened, and people will come to find in the book, that was like a total accident. And I don't even think I would have done that if the parameters of it were clear to me. But when you're young and you're enthusiastic, I did not ask a lot of questions. Now that I'm older, full grown man, I ask a lot of questions about what's going on as we're proceeding forward. Before, I was just so happy and enthusiastic to be a part of something and participate. I didn't ask a lot of questions. And that, I stepped in crap a lot because I didn't do that. So I'm trying to learn from my mistakes, but crazy time.
That is a recurring theme through the book is that you're not just braggadociously talking about all your great exploits. You're actually sharing life lessons through the mistakes. And I think, first of all, there's a lot of courage in even admitting mistakes, let alone putting them on paper. Um, you spoke about something I found interesting too, saying how life is perpetually high school sometimes, and how sometimes, and I think it can happen to all of us, we can get caught in that mindset where our world doesn't expand beyond the limitations we put on ourselves. And you have a great line that mentions the comfort of indifference, where you can go on and not try and do things to change your life and not try new things and not find new ways to think about things or even manage your own behavior. But then are you really living, or are you just staying comfortable in one spot? When did you realize for you that was an alternative that you didn't want to pursue, the comfort of indifference?
I was about 27 or 28 years old, I had finally enough money in my bank account where I was beginning to be comfortable. Meaning, like, just be straight with you. I had a little bit of debt, like most people in their 20s, and I was on par to paying it off. I was able to develop a savings account. I was kind of like just starting for the first time in my life to get ahead financially. And I had this career path in front of me, which was nightlife, essentially, it was managing nightlife stuff. And I just thought, like, oh, this is going to be around forever. I'll be able to do this forever and I'll be fine. And then when that hit me, it was like a lightning bolt. It scared me so much because I was like, whoa, actually, wait a minute. This is gonna be my life until my 50s or my 60s. I don't think I want this. Okay, I'm getting financial security, but this is not fulfilling. This is really, man, this is the definition of a job. I am a over glorified babysitter for drunk wealthy people, and this is not something I enjoy. This just happens to be something I'm good at. I can facilitate safety for people, but I'm not getting anything out of this other than money. And I was like, I got to do that thing that I've always wanted to do since I was a kid. I got to try this wrestling thing.
To just enlighten people there, so this is the time when you were being basically a high-end bodyguard, right? You'd moved on from, you had a history of working in bars and nightclubs and basically being a bouncer, right? And then you got an actual security job. So you mentioned the shift to pro wrestling. This was after you decided to stop doing other combat sports, correct?
Yes, all correct. Yep.
See, I did read the book. Did you ever consider an alternate title for this book being "I'm Probably in a Lot of Trouble"?
I should have. I should have.
You mentioned that quite a bit. So just to paint the picture again of your story, um, sometimes we hear stories of people who come from, bad living situations, uncomfortable home life, that sort of thing. That wasn't your story. You had, by all accounts, a wonderful home life, but the fight game was in your family. And so that's what first got you into these bare knuckle brawls and then eventually combat sports, jujitsu, and that sort of thing. But you mentioned the creative side in there. When did you discover that you had more creative cravings in you other than just the satisfaction of going out and exerting some physical activity?
Well, when I was little, I always loved to draw. I always loved to illustrate. I had an uncle, he's still with us, thank God. He's doing very well, as my Uncle Danny on my dad's side. He was really good at illustration. So was my Uncle Mark. And I grew up on comics, and DC and Marvel, Batman is a recurring theme in the book. And they would draw things like identical from the comics that I was reading. And I didn't know anyone else in my life as a kid who could do that. I thought that was insane that they could do that. I was never as good as they were, but I still like to draw. And so I was just always attracted to that stuff. I was always attracted to sports and art more than anything else growing up in school. Couldn't wait for recess, couldn't wait for gym, couldn't wait for art class. Oh my God. Finally, a teacher would just let me do something that I wanted to do and not tell me how to do it. And I just have always gravitated towards that direction. If you give me a sandbox and you tell me to play in it, I can do that. But if you give me like a like a just a blue crayon and a blank white piece of paper and tell me to draw something that is not going to resonate with anyone, I don't work well in those sort of environments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember in art class too, we had what was called free draw day, and me being the wrestling fan obsessed kid, I actually drew 16 by 20 poster collages, one of Shawn Michaels, one of Bret Hart, because it was that time when they were kind of 1 and 1A in popularity wise, right? So, and
Oh yeah.
Bret's always my guy, but that's a different story for a different day. But I can appreciate that, and that's the funny thing too. I think a lot of fighters, a lot of people in combat sports in general, sometimes get written off as just being meatheads that like to hit each other. Whereas if you delve beyond that a bit, there's a lot more personality there.
I found that as well, especially when I had a shaved head, man. I can't even tell you. Literally every person I met was always shocked to have a conversation with me. And you'd think there would be a relief in that, but I was always kind of a little bit disappointed, like perhaps the way I looked, and maybe some of the things that I did. I'll admit that some of the things I was involved with would probably lead people to believe that I was like maybe like a hyper violent Neanderthal, but I was really actually dying to have an authentic conversation with someone if they could just relax being around me. I know when I had a shaved head and I was covered in tattoos and all that, like that could be sort of off-putting. But people were always surprised when they actually got a chance to talk to me because I do enjoy having authentic conversations with people. I'm not a small talk person. I don't do well in those environments at all. So
The introverted extrovert. I got you. I got you. Um, we're talking to Karrion Kross right now, Kevin Kesar. The new book is called Life is Fighting. It's available wherever you get your books right now through ECW Press. Only $30 here in Canada. So, I mean, a steal. And I'll tell you, you will stay hooked into this thing. I couldn't put it down once I got into it. And that's saying something because I really found all the stories and it was kind of like, and you've hung around enough old wrestlers, you know, and I've done the same where they'll just sit there and they'll just start telling you stories. That's kind of what this felt like. Not that I'm putting you in the old wrestler category, but wrestlers love sharing stories. And that's what this felt like a lot here. I'm going to do one more story about you maybe almost getting in trouble here. And we won't get into the graphicness of it, but it was the story of the party you went to with your sister.
yeah.
And, you know, you admit something in this book too that I think is uncomfortable for a lot of people to admit. First off, I know I've had similar issue, but your temper can be something that you really had to learn to govern over the years. And you say in the book you get like blackout angry, and I can actually relate to that. I'm not really comfortable saying that either, but you know, I can relate to that in my younger days as well. So just knowing where you were then to where you are now. I mean, you described some of the steps you took to find, you know, kind of balance within yourself and realize that you could stop pretending in some ways. But for anybody that maybe reads that and goes through that, you know, it's like, geez, I know I got some real anger issues. How rewarding and how fulfilling has it been for you to be able to temper that?
Well, learning how to work through my temper has completely changed my entire life. For me, just speaking plainly and honestly to you, what changed it for me was learning how to work on my own communication. I had poor communication skills. I didn't know how to articulate how I was feeling and what was going on to like notify people in a situation where things were escalating that we needed to de-escalate the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't learn how to do that. It was weird. I could do it professionally, but personally I couldn't. Like being in the nightlife scene, I was someone who always tried to de-escalate situations, and I was very good at it. That's why I got hired a lot. I was work was plentiful in nightlife for me because I could go up to two guys that were trying to murder each other over a very trivial situation, and I could talk some sense into them. And then 10 minutes later, I'll give them some drink tickets, and now they're having drinks with each other. And I would see them come every month to the nightclub. These guys are ready to kill each other. Now they're friends.
Mm-hmm.
So that part was easy, but personal articulation was a really difficult thing for me. It changed my entire life once I was able to figure out just how to manage that. And that's what I would encourage anybody who feels like they may have some of those temper issues. And you got to understand, not only does it work against you and the relationships you want to have with people, whether it's personally and professionally, but eventually, as you get older and you get into a corporate sector, that temperament is going to be used against you. And you've
Mm-hmm.
got to find a way to not hide it because you're going to become implosive later. I went through that as well. You got to find a way to do something with it. You got to find a way to work through that and know where to let it go and know how to process it out. And for me, it was communication. Learning how to communicate for myself was the big game changer for me.
I know we don't have a ton of time here, Kev. I really do appreciate you making time to have the conversation here today. And again, you've been the apple of a lot of fans' eyes lately, especially with the Kross movement. And there's a lot of people that still want to see great things for you and Scarlett. You mentioned the importance of the independent scene today and how it needs to be saved and it needs to be preserved. There was a fear for a while there that independence may be gobbled up with the system the way it is now. It turns out it's the exact opposite. Independents are probably thriving more now than they ever have. Why do you think it's so important, though, that we still have independent wrestling in a world where we have performance centers, where we have training centers, where we have wrestling schools everywhere?
The preservation of the independent scene is really important because when you have young adults getting into the wrestling industry, you don't want to cultivate a group of people that want to become wrestlers as painters. Now, what do I mean by that? In wrestling, in art, you have painters and then you have artists. If you're a promoter or you're running a wrestling organization, like like you may need a painter to paint the room green.
Mhm.
Look, I need this room to be green. Can you paint it? Yes, of course I can paint it green, no problem. Then you have the artists. Let's say you want a very unique interior decoration of this room. You want this room to be totally different. You want this room that we're in right now to be a room that no one has ever walked into in their entire life. You can't ask the painter to do that. And when you're on the Independence gives an opportunity to wrestlers to become artists, not just painters.
Mhm.
When you go into the corporate sector of wrestling, meaning commercialized wrestling, you're gonna you're gonna build a lot of painters because the instructions are specific. You're going to get a lot of reoccurring themes because that's what they're asking for. On the independents, there's no restrictions. So that's, in my opinion, the best way I can articulate the difference between painters and artists. And if people haven't been able to tell yet, I'm a diehard artist and I have a very difficult time painting. I can paint the room green if you really
Yeah.
want, but you've been in a lot of green rooms before. I'd like to paint a room for you that you've never been in your entire life. And the independence will help people develop into the artists that they really want to be.
I think another great simile for that might be like a builder versus the designer. You know, the designer comes up with the concept. A builder can, yeah, put the wood together, everything else, but you know, can they think the same way the designer did? I get what you're picking up there. That's awesome.
Oh,
Kevin, again, the book Life is Fighting. I can't recommend this enough for independent wrestlers. We do a feature on Celebrate Wrestling all the time called Independent Spotlight, where I talk to a lot of the regional wrestlers who are starting to make a wave and do sort of things. If any of them are listening right now, this is, to me, this is the handbook for an independent wrestler or somebody who wants to make it in the wrestling business or do anything in life. Because I'm sitting here looking at my radio career, looking at this show, looking at everything, going, man, I can pick up stuff from this book. So I'm not saying this to butter your bread. I wouldn't say this to you, and I sure as hell wouldn't take notes unless I really learn something from this. So, you know what? I hope we can talk again soon here. I mean, there's so many things I want to chat about, like the 5 steps to go from a wimp to a war machine, which made me laugh out loud.
you know what? Honestly, let's keep it going because
Are you sure?
you're not trying to blindside me with stuff. So I am actually enjoying this conversation. Let's
Okay,
keep it
okay.
going.
I just want
Yeah.
to respect your time, so I appreciate that.
No,
Uh,
no, I appreciate this. This has been good.
okay. Well, let's talk about this then, because like I said, the handbook for indie wrestlers here. It's so funny. You came up with the 5 steps to go from a wimp to a war machine, which is basically, as I'm reading the first line, I'm like, this has got to be satire, and it turns out it is.
Yeah.
But it was basically everything. I'm guessing you've either seen or maybe even done yourself early in your career without even realizing it, and the mistakes that some people can make when trying to do anything in life here. My favorite was don't take advice from anyone, even me. As we're
Yeah.
reading this book, that's basically all advice.
Right. Right. It's it drove me nuts. So like, look, I enjoy motivational speaking. I enjoy step-based programs that are helping people recover or leading people to a better destination with their life and stuff like that. But I was a person who would read this stuff throughout my life, and a lot of it did not apply to me and did not directly help me. And it would make me so mad through my 20s, especially, where everyone's like talking about how great this thing is and it works for everybody. It's like, no, hello, it doesn't work for me.
Hmm.
Please don't say it works for everyone.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to take a playful jab at the idea of someone inventing, this very rigid program that's going to help people achieve their best version of themselves. And I've said that before. I've used best version of yourself quite a bit, but like anything, over time, sometimes that stuff becomes a little bastardized, and that makes me sad, man. I don't want this stuff to lose its meaning. So I just thought I'd get playful with it before I, went into the rest of it.
It was really funny, and then of course the next subchapter is literally the exact opposite of that, and some really sound advice for again. I don't think you intended to to make this a handbook for life so much as just tell your own stories. But I think there's a ton of great advice in this thing. Another line that was later on in the book that I really appreciated, because I mean I'm sitting in, this is my office at the radio station. I've got, you know, replica belts and toys and everything else around here. So I gravitated to this statement a lot. That's, remember what it's like to be a child. We talk about this a lot on the show because we've talked to everybody from the most analytical wrestling fan to the wrestling analysts. They come on, you know, your critics, your 5-star raters, whatever. They're all here. When I'm watching WWE or AEW or anything today, I always got to say to myself, okay, are they making this for me, the guy that's been watching for 30 something years, or are they making it to bring kids in? And I find if you go into that mentality of watching characters develop for the first time in a kid's eyes, that would help you as a wrestling fan. But I think, like you say here, it almost helps you in life. Can you tell me something besides Batman and a specific affirmation for Batman Returns, which is also a theme in this book? What is something you do to keep that child alive?
Well, it may come off as a little bit dark, but truthfully, I remember what it was like to not have very much and to be happy with the very little that I had. And that really does it for me. Like when I was a small child, I had what I needed, thank God, but I didn't have much in comparison to other kids. And I was happy with that. I was okay with that. And I feel like it's just a trap we can all get sucked into as we get older with status, different social dynamics. If we get lost in the chase for materialism, and it's okay to want things, but if you get trapped in that, I feel like your level of gratitude begins to diminish just subconsciously. So I just try to really actually appreciate the very little that I have. And that kind of keeps me young upstairs in my head.
Man, I feel like I'm just getting to know you and can relate so much to. So I was raised by my grandma. So talk about growing up with not much. And again, like I said, I got the collectibles and stuff like that. But I feel that because when you get into the collectibles game, especially, it's almost this fear of missing out. And it was a few years ago, actually, I realized that, you know, having all this stuff is neat, but yeah, remember when I was happy to have like a wrestling figure, you know, let alone an office full of silly stuff like this.
To your point, I just wanted to say too, and that's why I say it's completely okay to want, but if you accidentally attach your dependency, your happiness on the dependency of wanting something, you know, you could probably make yourself very upset. You'll feel like you're not happy. But yeah, case in point, I totally get that.
Man, I'm enjoying this so much. If you're just tuning in on the radio, we're talking to Kevin Robert Kesar, better known as Karrion Kross or Killer Kross to fans from the early days. Again, the book is fantastic. Life is fighting. Everything from life you can think of, from a guy who's been in more scraps than I think you've had more scraps in real life than I have in video games, like, to be honest. But and it's so funny too, because the first half of the book, and again, I'm not making fun, but the first half of the book is like, then I kick this guy's ass, then I kick this guy's ass. But then to talk to you now, it's like, okay, no, this is a guy that's done some things, but he's grown and turned into somebody who I think is very admirable. And I mean, the testimonials that you have from your coworkers and your friends on the back, I mean, this speaks to the type of person we don't see on TV, and that's obviously the story you want to tell here. Something else you mentioned in the book is how important it is to leave the acting and the character in the ring, and how you needed to find things that just grounded you and made you feel good at home. And you said, yeah, it was very important to find something outside of the act.
Yeah, it was very important for me. It's once my performance battery is exhausted, I don't want to perform anymore. And you know, with professional wrestling in that setting, you've got so much sensory overload. Never mind the guy punching you in your head and you getting slammed on your back on the floor. Never mind all that. but the music, the lights, the people, you really turn it on like past 10 up to like 5,000. And when that's done, I really just needed to get back to me. I needed to get back to my family. I don't want anyone talking to me like I'm a character. Um, I don't want any of the performance aspects
Yeah.
in my life. I don't want to feel like I was pretending with people. I really wanted the far end opposite. And it became a little creepy for me actually, because getting into wrestling, going back out into the real world, let's say, for instance, a dinner or a social setting with your friends and you're meeting new people, you begin to realize, and it hadn't occurred to me before I got into wrestling, but you begin to realize that a lot of people around you are performing all the time. And that would freak me out. That would freak me out so bad. And when I began to feel that, and like I said, I never noticed it before wrestling, I didn't pick up on it. My circle became a lot smaller. Maybe that was a good thing, but that was scary when that was happening. I, at one point in time, can tell you, I had a lot of friends. And that, not to say that they're bad people or we're not as close as we used to be, but like, I don't know, just when you feel like there's not something authentic going on all the time, and when people are asking you how you're doing, they're really asking you, well, what you're up to, and they want to know where you are, and how much money you're making. That's soul crushing, and it's like, damn it, like I want to be closer to you, but you're weird now, and now I can't be.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that obviously, I mean, I can't relate to it at all, but I mean, obviously, when you have a certain level of fame, people start to buy into that gimmick more than just Kevin, right? So,
And that sucks because I'm literally the same guy that I've always been, like probably since like I've been 15 or 18 years old. I haven't changed. And that sucks when people begin to treat you differently because they see you doing something different. It's awful.
again, we're talking to Kevin Robert Kesar. The book is Life is Fighting, Karrion Kross's life story leading up to the first release from WWE, and then coming back and being welcomed back home. The story is fantastic. If you're a wrestling fan, it's great. But if you're a fan of just hearing incredible stories and just, I don't know, life advice coming delivered from a way you would never expect, I think this is the book for you for sure. It's a quick read too. You're, what was it, 250 something pages, I think.
Yep.
Yep. So it's not, you're not reading Lord of the Rings here, which is fantastic. I appreciated that as well. Kev, if I can call you Kevin, because that's who I feel I've been talking to more than Karrion Kross here.
Yeah.
Before we go, I've been wanting to interview you for years, and there's two reasons for that. One I didn't know of until reading the book, and that was your love of Batman Returns, and specifically Michael Keaton Batman, which I'm with you 100%. I think Batman '89 was actually the greatest Batman movie ever made. Fight me, bro. Fight
Yes.
me. But your specific love of Batman Returns, I wanted to test your knowledge quickly. Are you I know you're a big film guy. There's tons of movie references in this. Are you familiar with much of the trivia of Batman Returns?
I hope so.
Okay.
I've watched it so many times. Give me a shot. Go ahead.
This might be fun here. I think just something different to break up the monotony of talking about wrestling here. Which SNL alumni played one of Oswald Cobblepot's image consultants?
Oh my gosh.
Not the guy that gets his nose bit off. I'll tell you this. It's the woman.
Oh, I don't know the name, but I knew it was either one of those people. I should know this.
I know. And it's funny. As soon as you say her name, you remember it's Jan Hooks.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
Does not have blood gushing out her nose. Okay, did you know why it was so significant that Paul Rubens, a.k.a. Pee Wee Herman, and Diane Salinger played Oswald's parents?
No.
They were co-stars in Pee Wee's Big Adventure. So there's a little fun fact for you there.
Wow.
Oh, I'm blowing your mind here today, buddy.
Yes.
Give me a wild guess. How many cat suits do you think were used in production just for Michelle Pfeiffer, not the stunt double?
I would have to say 30 and upwards.
60.
Whoa.
True or false? Max Schreck is actually a real person.
No, false.
Max Schreck was not a department store owner, but an actual German vampire actor. That's where they got the name from.
I didn't know that.
Dude, this is all great stuff, though. Next time you're talking about Batman, you'd be like, hey, did you know this? Did you know? And then last one here. Who was originally approached to play Max Shrek? It was not Christopher Walken.
I don't know that either.
I didn't
Who?
know this. I looked this one up. I didn't know this one either, so don't worry. But it was David Bowie.
Oh, he would have been really good.
Could you imagine Bowie as Max Shrek?
And now I get it too because the characters were both, they had like this, they were very still.
Mm-hmm.
David Bowie in films is very still, so is Christopher Walken. And like they have no wasted motion on screen. The both of them as actors, they move very deliberately. And sometimes when they talk, they both will talk with their hands, depending on the character. But that's so cool. They have a very cold, stoic stare, both of them.
There you go. Well, I hope that was kind of fun for you, if not learning something new about one of our favorite movies together. The last thing, and thank you again. This was supposed to be 15 minutes. You've given us so much more. And again, the book Life is Fighting by Kevin Robert Kesar, aka Karrion Kross, Killer Kross. Get it. But this is the fulfillment of a dream. My listeners have known I've wanted to do this with you for years. Would you please accept my challenge to a Jesse Ventura off?
I'll try.
I did a news segment in Edmonton once years ago. It was like one of those things at the fair. And so my buddy was going to do the Iron Sheik. He chickened out, and he's actually wrestled around the world. And I was like, well, I'm going to do Jesse Ventura. So we read the news and went off script and made a joke of the whole thing. So that was when I learned I could do my Jesse Ventura impression. So before we do this, I guess the first thing I have to say, Mr. Kross, before we start, we need to say hello to Terry, Tyrell, and Jade in Minneapolis.
Why do I have to say hi to them? Why don't you say hi to them? You know them.
Well, I did. I believe they're actually our wife and children, but I always would give them a shout out at WrestleMania and make Gorilla do it.
Well, I don't do shout outs. What I do is Gulf of Tonkin. And don't tell me it didn't happen. I was there.
Well, listen here, you can tell me all you want about things that have happened and not happened, but I think, frankly, this whole thing's a conspiracy.
So what you're telling me is that you want to fight me in a steel cage on fire with rabid dogs swimming in a moat on Saturday night's main event?
Actually, what I'd like to do is go out for a lovely cup of coffee, maybe some pizza at a lovely parlor in Toronto. Don't tell me it's not a parlor.
I was there.
I was there, Karrion Kross. What kind of a name is Karrion?
It means dead flesh. It's what a bird eats.
Oh, that's
A
delicious.
frog.
That sounds refreshing.
Get some carrion on a slice of pizza at a pizza parlor. See if you like it.
Oh my God. You win. Was that all right though? Was that okay?
It was very good. Will Sasso still blows us away, but that was very good.
Frank, oh yeah, Will Sasso can take it all, but the bottom line is, Mr. Kross, it's been an absolute pleasure, and don't try and tell me otherwise.
I appreciate you, Booker, man.